Evet, şimdi biz 34. Planetary Kongresi'ndeyiz ve bu gezegen kongresinde yanımızda eski astronotlardan Bill McArthur var. Kendisine birkaç soru soracağız. Hello, Mr. Arthur. Glad to see you.
Well, thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Well, thank you for coming to our country, and I have a couple of questions to actual astronaut, which is an honor to us to speak with an actual astronaut, because as a young age we were dreaming to be an astronaut. Now I'm talking to an astronaut, so which is a really good honor. So my first question is, what was the most difficulty situation in your trainings, and then most exciting thing in your mission in space?
So, interestingly, perhaps the most difficult thing in the training was that because on my last mission I flew on a Russian Soyuz rocket to the International Space Station and was there for 6 months. My only crewmate was a cosmonaut, Colonel Valery Ivanovich Tokarev, and so I needed to learn to speak Russian. And I thought that was much more difficult to learn to speak Russian than it was to learn how to fly a spaceship.
Wow, so language was the most difficult thing.
It was, but it was very rewarding to learn the language and to learn about other cultures. And so on my missions, I also flew with a Japanese astronaut. And so that was just a wonderful experience to visit Japan and learn more about that country and its culture. And I also flew with a Canadian astronaut. So of course that cultural difference wasn't so great, but still it was a wonderful experience. Now, a very difficult question to answer is what was the most exciting about being in space. And so first, launching the first time, the liftoff was, it made me very happy because I knew I finally was going into space. But also it's just incredible when you get into space the first time and suddenly you float everywhere. It just is, it's so exciting. And then you look out the window and see the Earth for the first time, and it makes you realize how unimportant we are as individuals and how important our home planet is.
How do you feel at that moment? What did you thought exactly?
You feel very small. You realize that our planet is just huge, and that there are billions of people there, and you are one of only a few people at that moment who are not on your planet.
And as a last question, what do you think about the progress of humankind in the space science and astronomy?
And so that's a very, very broad question. And so I think the advancements are in just a very broad range of fields. Of course, there are advances in technology which help benefit everyone on Earth. But there are also advances in how we relate with each other. With this organization, the Association of Space Explorers, it was started, over 30 years ago by a group of cosmonauts and astronauts who recognized that if we're going to be successful in exploring space, we need to try to overcome many of the political differences. We need to overcome many of the conflicts that we have here on Earth. And I think this organization and the Planetary Congress, this is the 34th Planetary Congress, and so we need to, in that same motivation is here. We come together because we have a vision for an Earth in which there is less conflict and that we work together to resolve our problems.
Some people says back in the Cold War times they were focusing on space progress more and more, but nowadays it's just lacking. Do you agree with this idea?
I do not.
You do not?
I do not at all, because I mean during the Cold War there was a bit of competition between countries, and that's existed throughout history. But if we look at the development of, say for example, airplane technology, what we saw is that great advances in airplanes were made by countries, unfortunately during wartime. But then private companies realized they could use airplanes for business. Now you can fly anywhere in the world for a pretty reasonable cost. And so what we're really seeing now is competition between not necessarily countries, but private companies like SpaceX and Virgin Galactic and Blue Origins and Sierra Space and I better stop naming them because I'll forget some. And so what we see is the technology is beginning to advance more and more, and we're starting to see that people can fly in space and they don't have to be representing the United States or Russia or Europe or other countries.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For the information and just enlightening us. Mr. Arthur, appreciate that.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
It's an honor for us.